After much waiting, I finally gotten around to Mobile Suit Gundam. It easily met my expectations as a masterpiece as soon as by episode 9. This feels like the only other political anime that is on par with how Legend of the Galactic Heroes handles politics. I am currently on episode 15. This will be a journey of analysis all the way until I get to Char's counterattack, and then end with Gundam Unicorn. I'm looking forward to see how much I can find that influence future works such as Macross and Evangelion. There's anime with Yoshiyuki Tomino in the staff credit that I have watched, such as Ashura Nojo and Space Battleship Yamato. With this, it will be the first time I get to look into something Tomino actually directed and created. I am fascinated with this chaotic view of mankind he has. He recently said in an interview, "Looking at the state of the world right now, I could never do a story about a bright future. The future points to the annihilation of the human race." It's evident here that his style of storytelling is brutal and often about mankind's terror that it unleashes into itself. I made a video about comparing our world to the world of Texanites. It's a brutal outlook of the reality of our lives. As a result, I can relate to Tomino's view that mankind is its own biggest threat and purveyor of violence. The opening of episode 1 in Mobile Suit Gundam opens with a line that tells you outright, humanity was horrified by its own actions. Mankind has expanded into space but divided into factions with different interests and goals. The Zeon, who are out in space, have turned their own faction into a dictatorship with the aim to take over planet Earth. As this conflict went on, half the human population has already been destroyed. From what I've gathered, the series has revolved mostly between the stories of two characters, one being Amuro. He is a young boy with a passion for engineering that gets thrown into the war by accident. The second is Char, a mysterious man with an iconic character design that, though struggles alongside the Zeon, appears to be a man of ulterior motives and different agendas than his superiors. Amuro right away reminds me of Shinji from Evangelion. The main difference is that despite that they both develop a fear of piloting their robots, Amuro is much more braver and decisive in general. Shinji is more towards exploring his deepest insecurities while being at war with his own extreme cowardice. In Amuro's case, he is horrified of what has become of him in the war. He has killed people, but it didn't make him really think about it until the lover of someone he killed died trying to get vengeance on him. He thought to himself, someone is trying to get revenge because of someone I killed that was dear to them. He was reminded about something similar while visiting his mother. He killed a soldier while hiding, and his own mom tells him that man wasn't necessarily bad, and also possibly had a family of his own. She lashes out against her son that this is not the boy she raised. It was already tough enough that Amuro and his mom had a heartwarming reunion just to end up like this. Because of the war, Amuro had to let go of his mother and left her crying. Throughout these 15 episodes, he is often exhausted from fighting and spaces out, trying to come to terms that he is killing. Out of his frustration, he sometimes refuses to pilot the Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam is a newly created mobile suit that unfortunately had those who were working on it and potentially piloting it killed during a Zeon attack. Amuro happens to be there because he was looking for his father, and after a violent explosion, finds a notebook with information all about how the Gundam functions. As an aspiring engineer, he decided to go into the robot and fight back. As awkward as it feels to him, he begins to get the hang of it more and more, often referencing back to the notebook when he needs to get out of a specific situation that he doesn't know how to get out of. Lieutenant Commander Char is ordered from among the Zeon to attack the White Base, the crew that takes up Amuro. He is a man of great cunning and skill in the battlefield. He would go on to clash several times with Amuro. Char's dilemma is that Amuro is getting better at piloting the mobile suit. Though Char has outstanding skill, he cannot defeat Amuro because Amuro's mobile suit is more advanced than his. As a result, you have the peculiar situation where though Amuro is an amateur soldier, the technological advancement of his mobile suit allows him to fight on par against Char, whose skill is significantly better, but whose mobile suit is much inferior. Char knows this with every battle. If he doesn't hurry and destroy Amuro, Char will eventually be overcome and destroyed himself. Early on, Char established himself as an amazingly written character. Part of what makes Char great is shown during the Garma arc. Despite Garma being a good friend to Char, the viewers can tell that Char has ulterior motives against his own Zeon faction by the sinister way he acts behind Garma. Eventually, Char sets him up to be killed, claiming it's revenge against Garma's father. This adds to the mystery of Char. Why is he against his own superiors? What made him the type of man to kill his own comrades? What is his past, and why does he feel the need to hide his identity? There is still the question of his sister Scylla, who is another great character as well. Besides Char's cunning dialogue and conscious understanding of galactic politics, it is this mystery element that really appeals to me about him as a character. I want to know more about him and to try to understand him. He's written so strongly that he can establish himself as an amazing character, while at the same time, the staff adds these unknowns about him that doesn't feel like it's just there for the sake of being unknown. There is a sense of purpose and meaning in what he is doing, despite that I still don't know what his past is or what he is really up to. I find it amusing how Amuro is developing this obsession with Char. Granted, Lieutenant Commander Char is the biggest and constant threat that Amuro's crew have identified. It's almost comical how Amuro follows Char like a rabid wolf. The fights feel promising as the soldiers try to outperform each other. There is lots of deaths and explosions as expected. The soundtrack sounds funky, but there are only a few tracks I enjoy. Fortunately, they are the ones that get used the most. This is a series from 1979, and the art has been, for the most part, wonderful. Older anime feels in so many ways much more natural than modern anime. That's not to say that modern anime can't do it as well. However, it becomes very noticeable out of the increasing tsunami of trash that gets made nowadays. Obviously, back then you could start an entire season in the 70s and have barely anything to consume. Now you can have over 50 series in a season. It is for this reason that modern anime has set itself up with how much garbage is out now. I can't help but point out the overabundance of terrible animation out today, despite of what's good. I can appreciate the amount of detail that goes into the animation in Mobile Suit Gundam. The effort to show so many expressions, brutal battles, body language, it's very respectable. There are so many beautiful character designs, such as Sayla's as well. Bright, the leader of the white base crew, is a very strict man who is very tough on Amuro. It's sort of comical how much Amuro gets slapped, not just by him, but other characters out of his own incompetence. Sayla appears to be Char's sister, and in a recent episode tried to take over the Gundam to supposedly show that women can fight in the war as well. It almost felt out of character of her, but then again, at this point, I barely know her. It's too early to tell. She is very intelligent and reminds me a lot of Misato from Evangelion. Another character that fascinates me is Kai. It's very amusing that his voice actor would go on to voice Poplin from Legend of the Galactic Heroes, because I was going to mention that both Poplin and Dusty from that series are so much like Kai. Kai often jokes around sarcastically around the crew, and sometimes gets punched as a result. But a lot of times there is truth to what he says. If he had the chance to meet Poplin and Dusty, I'm sure the three would get along amazingly. Despite only being 15 episodes in, so much has happened. The narrator often takes the viewers around to show the expansive world of Mobile Suit Gundam. There is still a lot left. Additionally, this has already established itself among my top favorites. Thank you for listening.